welcome back on the sixth and final day of Government Sempai International Webinar on Advances of Science in Education 2021. My name is Ming Sang Zwali, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Government Sempai College. Today we have presentation from Dr. C. Leldong Liana, Associate Professor, Department of Chemistry, Government Sempai College. Our presenter for the day, Dr. C. Leldong Liana, has 5 years research experience in indoor radon monitoring and 11 years research in water monitoring. He is currently engaged in National Water Monitoring Program and National Air Monitoring Program within Sempai District under Government of India. He is an esteemed researcher with publications of 16 scientific papers, out of which 9 are in peer-reviewed journals. And one of his papers is awarded as a top-cited paper in 2011 and 2012, respectively. He has presented scientific papers in 7 international seminars and 4 national seminars. And after I call upon our speakers and after he presented his paper, the participants are welcome to give questions and queries in the comment section or the chat box below. So now let me call upon Dr. C. Leldong Liana to have his presentation.
And I welcome you all in this 6th day of our international webinar on advances of science in education. And today, my presentation will focus on the water quality monitoring in Sempai District. So today, we will give a presentation on water quality monitoring in Sempai District. And this is a national program which we have conducted since 2015. And we are covering the Sempai district of 2 rivers and 1 seepage and another 1 underground water. So we are actively engaged in this monitoring program for the last 6 years. So coming into my point, here is the study sites which I am going to present today. And of course, we have investigated for the last 6 years, but today I am going to present only the last 2 years data, and from there we will make a conclusion of the water quality in our investigating sites. So the study sites are Tio River, which runs the entire Indo Myanmar through Mizoram borderline. And this is a very important river which runs between India and Myanmar. And the next one is River Tuipui, which is also a very important river, especially for Sempai area, because this is the source of our domestic water supply. And the other one is Keilunglia stream. This is within Sempai town, and this has been connected with the natural drainage system of Sempai town. And this Keilunglia stream then meet Tuipui within Sempai area, so that this can be a polluting agent for our river Tuipui, which is the source of our entire Sempai water supply system. And the other one is Pohon. That is a seepage, which is a very old seepage. And if I'm not mistaken, it was constructed during the British regime. So this is actively became a water supply center for many households. And many people are still depending on this seepage. So that's why we are selecting this particular seepage out of many seepage within Sempai town. So this is the first site, which we call the Tiao River. And this is the river line, which runs between Myanmar and India. And the left side is India, and the other side, right side, is Myanmar. And this is the selected point where we do the investigation. And here, the left side, this side is Indian territory. The other side, this one is the Myanmar territory. And this river still runs in between this. And this is the bridge, which is constructed between India and Myanmar as a connectivity. And here, government officials have checkpoint, and here also Myanmar officials have checkpoint. So this is strictly monitored by government officials. And the selection site is nearby this bridge, somewhere here. So this is where we are collecting the water sample and we investigate it. And this is 2019 data of Tiao River. Here we have mentioned the different 12 months a year, and these are the respective data of this water quality. Here we are monitoring the dissolved oxygen, then biological oxygen demand, then the nitrates concentration, chlorides concentration, ammonia, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, and phosphates. These are the elemental and the ionic concentrations which we monitored. And apart from this, we are also monitoring some other parameters like the pH, the temperature, and even the coliform concentration. Here in 2019, first of all, I just want to highlight the concentrations of all these parameters. And after that, we will see how it is depicted in the quality. Here, the annual average dissolved oxygen is 6.39, as we have mentioned here. And now below that, I have given this maximum limit, permissible limit of the dissolved oxygen or any other items which we are going to monitor it for a safe and clean water. So for dissolved oxygen, the permissible limit is 6.528 milligram per liter. In this case, Tiao River, the annual average is 6.39, which is within the limit. So it is not that polluted or hampered in terms of dissolved oxygen. And here again, we have biological oxygen demand. The annual average reaches 1.7 milligrams per liter. And that is also within the range of 1 to 2 milligrams per liter. And here nitrates, the maximum limit is 10 milligram per liter. In here, we have only 0.039. So the contamination or the concentration of nitrates in this river is very, very low. And chloride, the limit is 250 milligrams per liter. And the annual average of Tiao River in 2019 is 14.58 milligrams per liter only. So it seems that this is not contaminated or treated with chlorine, giving overdose. And the concentration of ammonia is 0.469, and the maximum limit is only 12 milligrams per liter. So this is also far below the maximum limit. So this is, we can say, safe. So that's why I have make it in a green color also. And calcium, if we look into calcium, of course, the annual average concentration is 25.37 milligrams per liter, and the permissible limit is 75 milligrams per liter. So it is far below, but there is a peculiar reading which we have found during June 2019. That is far above the permissible limit, 106 milligrams per liter. So this is a very remarkable, and this is a very cognitive concentration. Here, why there is an abrupt increase in the concentration? That is not well figured out, but the possibility is that this Tiao River is running along the paddy fields in many areas from Myanmar side as well as Mizoram, India side. So in these paddy fields, the farmers, they used to sprinkle this lime for maintaining or monitoring the soil texture. So if the lime has been sprinkled, then that will possess lots of calcium. So that calcium, when the rainy season starts, the soil calcium content can be leached out to the nearby Tiao River. So that may be the cause of this abrupt increase in calcium concentration during June, because this is the early monsoon season. So there is a chance of leaching out of the calcium concentrations from the soil texture of the paddy fields. And that is why it is increased abruptly. And magnesium is within the limit, 7.64. The permissible limit is 30 milligrams per liter. And sodium is 6.35, which is far below the permissible limit. And potassium, there is again a cognitive increase. Here, the permissible limit is 0.78 to 10.55. So it is, of course, within the limit, but with high concentration of 10.5, the maximum one. This is very peculiar, and the source of potassium here is not known till now. Within the rest season, we have a very low concentration of about 0.5 to 2 milligrams per liter. So if we calculate the annual average concentration, it comes to 1.29, which is within the limit. Here, phosphates concentration is 0.118, the annual average concentration. And the permissible limit maximum is 0.1. So it seems that the annual average increases, exceeds the permissible limit. But phosphates is a essential nutrient, so it is not much hampering the health hazards of the public. But still then, if excessive dose have been inputs in the river annually, then there will be some side effects within the river quality, water quality in the river. Here, in most cases, it is above the limit, 0.5, 0.3, and 0.145 like that. And the annual average comes 0.0118. So this is the data which we generate from Chio River during 2019. And the concentrations of all these ions and the dissolved oxygen for the entire year is within the limit, as we said. So the water quality of Chio during 2019 is not so bad for irrigation purposes and for public distribution system also. Only that the pre-treatment by the department concerned is done so that it is potable after treatment. And then this is the graphical representation of the DOs and the BODs. And this is the graphical representation of the elements and the ions present that we have already discussed. And this is the data we generate during 2020. In these cases, we have only 1 point in BOD, 2.1 milligrams per liter, which is beyond the permissible limit. But this is also not much hike as compared to the permissible limit. Only just 0.1 milligrams per liter is there. That is during only July also. So the rest of the year, it is within the permissible limit. So this is also acceptable for the clean water supply. But here we have found two parameters which we don't find in 2019. That is fecal coliform and total coliform. This is the biological waste contamination, which we can say. Fecal coliform, this is mainly from the feces of animals and human beings. Here, according to ISO parameter, the concentration of fecal coliform, the unit is MP, and that is most probable number. It should be 0 for drinking water. But here we have 20, 23, 23, 39 in 2020 from August to December. So this shows that there is a lot of fecal contamination in the river. And of course, as I said in the beginning, from the photos, this is the selection site that is near the this habitat place. This is Zokotar from the Myanmar side, and this is the Komoy checkpoint from the Indian side. So we see there is inhabitation here with many populations, and their waste are directly dumped into the river. So this could be the reason why this fecal coliform concentration is remarkably high during 2020, and that is also in the later or the mid rainy season and the spring season of the year. That is due to the fecal inputs from the local inhabitants. And here they used to rear these pigs and birds and even these cattle also. So these animal feces as well as the human feces could be dumped into this river. So that could be the cause of this fecal contamination in this year. And total coliform is the concentration of all the coliforms, soil, and even the animals. So this is the concentration. We have this also very high in terms of thousands. So within this same period, the total coliform is remarkable high, and that is detected in our investigation. So this is a very serious problem for the people to depend on this Teo River, so that some measures have to be taken to reduce the contamination in this context. And these are the graphical representations of the same. And next is Tuipui River. This is the Tuipui River, which runs in the Sempai area. And of course, it originates within Sempai town, in the origin of this paddy fields, near the paddy fields. And so this is very easy to be contaminated because many inhabitants are presently settling in the area, in the catchment area. So this is also a very important river because this is our main sources of Sempai people regarding the water supply. And I will add that not only Sempai town, the adjoining towns are also now depending on this greater Sempai water supply, which is depending on this Tuipui River. And this is the selection site of our investigation. And this is the place where Greater Sempai water supply scheme is making the water intake. So this is the intake point, and here treatments are done here and the other reservoir. So that is why we are selecting these sites for investigation. So this is the river course, and we are collecting the samples in this river course near the intake point. And this is the annual data which we generate from our investigations during 2019. Here, fortunately, all the annual average concentrations are within the limit. Only phosphates is posing a threat, but this is also negligible. And it is, as I told you, it is not a very serious problem in terms of contamination because phosphates is essential nutrients. And so this is the data which we generate during 2019. And here there is no fecal contamination. Here 2020, again, we have a cognizable changes which could pose threats to the water intake system. Here the BODs in July and August is remarkably high. 2.8 in July and 5.2 in August. This is really a serious data and which we have to take in care. Why this is increased abruptly in these 2 seasons, 2 months. This is very difficult to justify, but the possible justification for this too is that during this time it is a rainy season where we got maximum monsoon. That's why there is always pollution from the domestic effluents from that Sempai town and the adjoining towns also. That's why maximum inputs of the effluents and the pollutants, which generally do not contribute in other seasons. So because of the heavy rains, the chance of contamination from all sides or corners is maximum in these 2 months. That's why, due to those contaminations, the growth of algal as well as the biological organisms in the river increases. That's why the biological oxygen demand also increases abruptly in these 2 seasons. And of course, like Teo River, Tuipui River is running entirely along its course near Sempai, passing through the paddy fields. So from the paddy fields, many nutrients inputs are done by the farmers during their sowing period, as well as during other seasons also before harvest. That's why we got maximum inputs in terms of fertilizers. So that also enhanced the organism growth in the river, and that could be the reason why there is an abrupt increase in biological oxygen demand that focus the increased number of organisms within the water. So this could be the reason. And other cases we have within the permissible limit data. So the water quality during 2020 is also not that bad for public water supply. Of course, the treatment, normal treatment has been done by the concerned department. So this is the cases that we have come across. But like the Teo River during 2020, we have a very unwanted, I should say, contamination from fecal coliform and total coliform. That is a very, very serious issue for water supply system to the public. That is also from August to December. Here, the fecal coliform concentration is remarkably high with cognizable amount is found here in these cases. That is also possible due to the inputs from the locals, as I mentioned in the Teo, because this fecal coliform is just contributed from the animal feces as well as human feces. So sometimes there is a contamination from the local inhabitants within Sempai town just to give inputs of their septic tank to the natural drainage system during rainy season. So this is the reason why there will be a fecal coliform concentration increases, because this Tuipui River is joined with the natural drainage system of Sempai town. Especially during rainy season, there is a huge input from the domestic effluents from different corners to the Tuipui River. So that will increase this fecal coliform as well as the total coliform. So this could be the reason. So this is another serious threats for the authority to monitor the water quality in terms of fecal coliform contamination, and this has to be monitored properly. And this is the stream, the fourth selection site which we have done in this investigation, that is called Keilunglia stream. And Keilunglia stream is down to this area, and this has been joined by the natural drainage system from all these points. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, here, all these darkened points are the natural drainage line from the main Sempai town. So we have many sites of drainage points naturally occurred, and those drainage points are dumped into the Keilunglia stream. So the magnitude of domestic contamination will be very, very high, because the entire Sempai town is dumping our domestic, especially the liquid effluents, into this Keilunglia stream, and that is joining the Tuipui River within Sempai area. So this is very serious point, and that is why we are selecting this Keilunglia stream for this particular project also. And this is Keilunglia stream, which runs along the paddy fields in the down side of the Sempai town, in the eastward side. And here is the confluence with river Tuipui. Here there is a bridge which crosses this river Tuipui, and this bridge connects the main road from Sempai to Nalan village. So this is a very important connectivity road for the northern side of the Sempai town, the villages there in the northern side of Sempai. So this is a very important road. And here the bridge is constructed over this Tuipui River. And at this point, there is a confluence between Keilunglia stream and the river Tuipui. That is why, as I mentioned, it is a very serious and important activities to monitor the Keilunglia water quality. So, as I told you, in this Keilunglia River, stream, all the domestic effluents of Sempai has been dumped into this Keilunglia stream, and that again has been dumped into this river Tuipui. And in the downstream, we are having the collection site for the Sempai Greater Water Supply Scheme. So this is why we are monitoring this one. And this is the activities we have from Government Sempai College by clearing up the Keilunglia stream from its different kinds of pollutants, plastic pollutants, bio waste, and many other, every kinds of pollutants. This is a clearing program organized from government Sempai College, the Eco Club activities. So this is the photo I would like to put in this presentation also. And this is the data which we have in 2019. Here also, we see that there are high concentration of biological oxygen demand. 2.3, 2.1, 2.5 in 3 seasons above the permissible limit. So this shows that there is increase in biological waste which nurtured the organisms in this Kailunglia stream. So this could be the reason why this biological oxygen demand is increased in these months. And the annual average of biological oxygen demand is also 1.8 milligrams per liter, which of course is within the limit but in the higher concentration. So this could be a threat for the future condition of this Kailunglia stream if it is not monitored properly. The other concentrations are within the limit except phosphates again. So in all these presentations which we have seen so far, the phosphates concentration always we have higher concentration of phosphates of 0.288 as an annual average. But this is not a very serious problem, as I have mentioned that phosphates contamination or phosphate inputs are possible from the nearby paddy fields because the river is, the stream is along the paddy fields, so many inputs of the nutrients are always done by the local farmers. So this is why we have higher concentration of phosphates. And this is the data of 2020 of the same Kailunglia stream. Here in April, we have 2.23 BOD milligram per liter BOD. Here, this is above the permissible limit. Of course, this could be the changes in the water texture of Kailunglia stream because of the nutrients, where many organisms are nurtured, and this is the possible reason why there is a change or higher concentration of organisms and higher demand of oxygen in terms of biological oxygen demand. And these are the graphical representations. And before I go to the next slide, from this Kailunglia stream, of course, this is the natural drainage of the entire Sempai town, as I have mentioned earlier. But the contamination of the main river Tuipui, which this Kailunglia meets at Sempai area, the main contribution from the pollutions is not very much as we have seen from the data. And so even proper monitoring system is organized, then this natural drainage system of Sempai town will hardly hamper the water quality of Tuipui River in future also. Only thing is that the fecal coliform contamination should be monitored. Otherwise, this is a really threats for the future quality of water for our intake. And the last site is Pohon seepage. This is the site. Unfortunately, I cannot have a clear photo of this site. Here is the site, and this is in the heart of the town. And this is, as I've mentioned in the beginning, as heritage item of Sempai, because this has been constructed during the British regime. So this is a very old seepage, and still it is actively supplying the domestic water for many people around this area. So this is the main source of the local inhabitants around this area, and still it is a perennial source. And this is the water quality of this Pohon seepage. Here we see red data in BOD concentrations. In almost all, except two, except one only, this BOD is higher than the permissible limit, above 2. Here the annual average is 2.2. So annual average is also above the limit. And this is a very interesting one, why the seepage have BOD concentration very high. The reason is not yet identified, but the seepage, the original is the underground water. So in the underground sources, many nutrients are there. So, and on above this Pohon seepage, we have a reserve area that was monitored by government Gandhi Memorial High School, where they have planted many trees. So that area is very damp and very highly vegetated. So this is well monitored by the school, and that is the reason why this seepage is also still actively supplying the domestic water, and still it is perennial, because in and around the area many local habitations are there, but still then it is actively supplying water because of this vegetation. So, and because of this one, the underground water of this could be having many organisms in terms of plants as well as animals, organisms, microorganisms. So because of that, the biological oxygen demand could be very much high as compared to other open sources. So that is why this BOD is high. And again, here phosphate is high, almost within the limit, 0.105 as an annual average concentration. So this is again the normal condition of the soil in the seepage. So this is the data which we can present in this study. And into 2020, the BOD is within the limit. And all other concentrations are also within the limit. Unfortunately, I have make it red just to identify it. but these are all within the limit. So the water quality of this Pohon seepage is good enough for potable purposes. So this is the content of many ions and elements which we are monitoring in this project. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience, and sorry for interruption from internet as well as the power supply. So if there is any queries, we can try to justify.
Very warm thank you to our presenter today. And we would like to apologize for the short interruption due to technical issues. And now we shall dedicate our time for question and answer section. And please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box or comment section, and I will direct the questions to the speaker. Thank you once again to our speaker. With that, we will conclude our first session, the presentation session, and our program has drawn close to an end. And now let me call upon Dr. Eflal Fakomi, Assistant Professor, Government Sempai College, Department of English, and Organizing Secretary, to deliver a valedictory speech and a vote of thanks, and she will handle the program hereafter.
Thank you, Ms. Ming Sangzwale. A very good afternoon to all. As we are getting to the closing time of 1 week international webinar on advances of science in education, which is catalyzed and supported by National Council for Science and Technology Communication, DST, Government of India, New Delhi. I'm extremely happy to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of Research and Consultancy Development Committee, Government Sempai College. First of all, I would like to thank our co-organizer, MISTIC, Mizoram Science, Technology and Innovative Council, ISOL. We are looking forward to further significant provision and collaboration. I also thank our principal and colleagues for their support and cooperation right from the very beginning till now. The resourceful resource persons who are renowned identity in different fields of academic for sharing with us the fruit of their hard work through their insightful and interesting presentations, the webinar host and technical team for their effort and inputs, and all participants for their active participation. Finally, I thank the Almighty for giving us an opportunity to learn what we have learned, and for giving us all these wonderful persons who have helped us in making this webinar such a resoundful success. Zoom and YouTube are the software platforms used, and we have got a number of viewers, and registration is done by hundreds of participants from different disciplines. Besides virtual participants, every session of the webinar has been attended here in this room, in this hall, by faculty members and students of our college. As the organizing committee is greatly moved and inspired by the success of the webinar, we hope to see you soon in this kind of program. Thank you.